time. Welcome, everybody. It's so good to see you. It's been a while since I've been here at Rec Room Church. There's a lot been going on in life, in personal life, and professional life. And I'm definitely keeping up with pictures and videos and Twitches and all that. And so it's such a joy to be back again and looking forward to today. Like Treaders was saying, we have a kind of a new format. Every first and third Sunday, we focus on sermons. Second and fourth, we focus on community, hanging out, doing acts of service. We found people were like, hey, we need some more time as a community. So that's one of the reasons we started doing that. And I really enjoy those. At first, we were kind of like, oh, I don't know if we'll like this or not, but it's been so good to get to know people more in the past few months than we've had even in the past year or so. And so those community days are really good. I know for some, it's not your personality type. You're like, not really a group talking person, but that's okay, man. Just try to get into it. It actually would surprise many people to learn that I am an introvert as well. And so when I say that to people, they don't believe me, but I am. And so, but it's so good, even as introverts or those who like to do more small groups, to get in these large group community settings. That's good for all of us just to grow and to get to know each other. And like Cheddars was saying, the fifth Sunday, every time you see that come around, we want to focus on spiritual gifts and volunteering. So that's the focus of today. I have a little short sermon from 1 Corinthians chapter 12 that I want to share with you. And this, excuse me, this is going to be an evolving thing. We're going to be setting up booths for different needs. Like if you look over to my left, you're right. Well, we need a few streamers. We've had Phantom and Aaron. They've been streaming quite a bit. And they could use some help or maybe some days off. And so we'd like to get a stream team going. If you've streamed before, we definitely are going to need your help. We could also use a host team. That's something we've kind of gotten started, died, and so we need a good host team again. I was talking with someone who said, and I don't want to put words in their mouth. I'm trying to recall the conversation. Not that they didn't feel like it was an unfriendly environment, but nobody really said hi to them, and they were wondering, and it got me wondering about the host team and getting that going. And just to make sure that people feel welcome, because I know the metaverse is, people come and go for a split second. And so it's hard to tell who's new, who's staying and all that. And so a team that focuses on that, thinks about that, is aware about that, at least going up to people and saying hello. I think that's going to be very important. So over time, you're going to see different booths pop up. We're going to have people who are going to lead these booths. And so we have the Unity, where Cheddars is at, is going to be the Unity team. And so afterwards, Aaron, if you don't mind being at the stream booth, Cheddars, you're going to be over there at the World Build booth or the Unity booth, if I'm not mistaken, because we need help people to help build these worlds. And the host booth, I guess I'll go over there unless Alice, was somebody already assigned to the host booth, or did that already?
Not necessarily.
If nobody was.
Well, there's less booths than there are teams, just because we didn't have the space in here. So
Gotcha.
there are people. So hosts would be either people up on the stage like Cheddars and Yoris, who's already taken his stand over there.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe me and Yoris will be over there. Okay. Yeah, fair enough. And this will be like an evolving thing. This is kind of the kickstart of spiritual gifts, volunteer fairs. So this is kind of the beginning, and I'm excited to see it grow. And I think that'll be a big help to us. All right. Well, let's jump into the sermon for today. And I'm really excited about 1 Corinthians chapter 12. I'm excited to read this passage of scripture to you because spiritual gifts is one of my passions. I'm just going to kind of get out ahead of us and talk about my spiritual gift is apostleship. And we'll touch a little bit on that today. It has the idea of pioneering or spiritual entrepreneurship. It's part of that discovery of being an apostleship that led to the formation of VR MMO Church. Let me give you a very quick story. I was a pastor at I was a campus pastor. I was on a pastoral staff on the executive team, a large church in Pennsylvania, large for the Northeast, at least. I think once you hit the Bible Belt, maybe it was just a regular sized church. But, a couple thousand people on the weekend. I was on the executive team, helped lead one of their campuses. And when we launched the campus, there was such a wonderful start to it, and nothing bad happened, nothing wrong happened. But I remember something happened one Sunday where I was leaving the stage doing announcements like this, and something just felt off. And if I get emotional and I have to mute myself, can I still mute covering my mouth?
If
Okay.
you got the setting
Yeah, I
correctly.
just don't want to. Yeah, it's still a thing. I just don't want to like, well, I guess it's okay, to express emotion. But I remember something felt off there and I couldn't pinpoint what it was. Man, something inside was just dissatisfied, discouraged. Everything was great, by the way. It wasn't like we were having church problems or
Happy.
the people hated me as
Yeah, I
a
have it
campus
pencil.
pastor or having issues. Yours, I think you still have megaphone on. You might want to
Oh yeah,
double
sorry,
check
sorry.
that.
Hold on.
Hey, no worries. If you don't mind, turn that off. That'd be awesome. And I couldn't figure out what was going on inside my spirit. And it was happening week after week. Man, could not identify it. I was serving the role as a pastor. And one day I was in my offices and I was reading through different articles. And man, I've been through Bible college, got a Bachelor of Arts in Bible. I've been around seminary settings. I've been in all types of church ministry. And I started reading about spiritual gifts. I started reading about the gift, specifically the gift of apostleship. Now, no offense, I'm not trying to attack anybody, but the religious environments I was a part of did not recognize the gift of apostleship. So we didn't talk about it. We didn't recognize it. We didn't have conversations about it. This idea of entrepreneurship, pioneering, those who are gifted with that. And I've never, through all those religious and high education settings, never heard of the gift of the apostles and the prophets and the shepherds and the teachers and all these different gifts of the church. And I read this article and it talked about the gift of the apostleship. And I went, sorry if I get emotional, I read one after the other, and this tension that was inside me just melted away. And I can't explain it, but this tension melted away and I realized, oh, I'm not a pastor. That's not my role. That's not my gift. I'm trying to fit the role of a shepherd, which is a very important gift. Man, Pastor Alina has the gift of a shepherd. Shepherds, you can think of them like taking care of sheep and nurturing them and encouraging them through life's difficulties. Man, we need shepherds. And maybe some of you have that gift who can encourage and nurture people through difficult situations in life. And it's not that I, as an apostle, don't have that gift, or that, even if we're not shepherds, we don't have that. We should always be encouraging and nurturing. But man, shepherds, man, they're passionate about it. They're good at it. And I remember that tension inside me just melted away because I was trying to fit a role that I was never intended to be. I realized in that very moment that I was an apostle, that I had the gift of apostleship, to pioneer, to entrepreneur, to try new things. And oh man, it just melted away in my spirit because all this time, if you picture like, I don't know, I'm not necessarily a big football fan, but imagine like Tom Brady, one of the most famous quarterbacks in NFL history. Imagine him trying to be a running back, right? He goes and be a running back one game. And if we were watching on TV, even non-football players would go, hold on, why is Tom Brady doing the role of the running back? That doesn't make sense. And you know what? Tom could probably do a decent job. I don't know, maybe not, but he could probably do a wide receiver. He's athletic. He could probably do the thing, the running back thing and be successful, quote unquote. But man, Tom's a quarterback. He is at his core, just to throw the ball. And we can go illustration after illustration, soccer, basketball, outside of sports illustrations about how I realized I was a shepherd, I realized I was trying to fill this role as a shepherd, but really I was meant to be the gift of apostleship. Man, and that really just kind of melted the tension that was inside. I became really clear in my mind. It wasn't picture perfect. The environments I was still in didn't really recognize that. And to be fair, I think they tried, but ultimately it just didn't, if you're not recognizing something, it's hard for me to be in that environment. So my wife and I left with all respect, and there was no fighting or anything like that, but we left and to go to fulfill the gift of the apostleship. And it was that year that we started Virtual Reality Church. So it's interesting to me looking back about how I realized what my gifting was. I didn't know that I had that gift, by the way. I'm talking, mid 30s, advanced biblical educations, denominations, ordained in one of the largest denominations in the U.S., perhaps even the world. And I didn't know my spiritual gift. I didn't know I had one, by the way. And I didn't know that it was a particular gift that God had given me to help the church. And so we're going to go read 1 Corinthians 13. And so, like I said, we're just getting started with Fifth Sunday, Volunteer Sundays, and spiritual gifts. We're just getting going. So consider this intro class, if you will, because there's a lot to dive into when it comes to spiritual gifts. Oh man, I could talk about it all day. I'm passionate about it. I'm passionate about you discovering what your gift is if you don't know it. I'm passionate about you going on a journey to discover what it is, how it works, to fulfill it, because that journey is between you and God, and we can guide and we can, maybe conversate, but ultimately, man, you and God are on a journey to fulfill the destiny, to fulfill the gift that's inside you. And maybe, and I don't know, maybe everyone knows your spiritual gift. Maybe you're operating in it. More power to you. But maybe you're like me and you didn't realize you have a gift. Because you say, Pastor, I'm good at anything. I really don't know much. I didn't get an advanced education like you did. I didn't know much. I don't think I have a gift. No. We're going to read 1 Corinthians 13. Alice, you might help me read through the chapter, save my voice a little bit. We're going to read through 1 Corinthians. Oh yeah, 12. 12. Yep. Thank you. Good catch. We're going to read 1 Corinthians 12, and I want you to pay close attention. Again, intro class to spiritual gifts, volunteer, because there's a lot to delve into. Pay attention on Discord, because we're going to post links to like spiritual gifts quiz, some other scripture to read about. So here's an intro, and we're going to dive down deep into it. But maybe for some of you who think, man, I'm just in high school, or I'm a blue collar worker. I don't really know. You have to understand a gift has been given to you, and maybe like me, you don't realize it's inside your spirit, and you can be in the high end of Christianity and still miss that gift. So let's dive into 1 Corinthians 12. Let's read about it. Let's chew on it, and allow this to be the beginning of a journey that we go on Fifth Sundays, and also not just specific on Fifth Sundays, because we'll be talking about on Discord. So keep an eye on that. Maybe, we need to get a spiritual gifts channel on the forum there. So that's something maybe someone can remind me to do. Alice, Cheddar, somebody, let's get that spiritual gifts forum up. Pay attention to the announcements. But I want you guys to come over here where Kingdom Builder is. Everyone come gather over here by Kingdom Builder and Everett, because we have the scripture here, and I'd like to read this section, and then Alice, if you don't mind reading this section down here. But let's get started, and let's go ahead and start reading 1 Corinthians chapter 12. Here's the Apostle Paul. But Apostle Paul was also apostle. He was like a pioneer, entrepreneur, pioneer starting these things, right? He goes, "Now, dear brothers and sisters." By the way, that's you and I. We have all the brothers and sisters here. Welcome to church, everybody. "Regarding your question about the special abilities the Spirit gives." So the brothers and sisters at that time might have had a ton of questions, and maybe you do too as well. And the Apostle Paul is going to give us some insight. He says this, "I don't want you to misunderstand this. You know that when we were still pagans, you were led astray and swept along in worshiping speechless idols." In other words, man, you're just kind of lost, kind of going on just a random or destructive path. He says, "So I want you to know that no one speaking by the Spirit of God will curse Jesus, and no one can say Jesus is Lord except by the Spirit." Actually, Alice, let me read this part, and I'll have you read this next part. Now, here's where he gets into it. "Now, God gives us many kinds of special abilities, but it is the same Holy Spirit who is the source of them all. There are different kinds of service to God, but it is the same Lord we are serving. There are many different ways in which God works in our lives, but it is the same God who does the work in and through us who are his." So now we're introducing this idea, this kind of like a light bulb moment. Hey guys, spiritual gifts exist. If you didn't realize it, now you do. There's a thing called special abilities, spiritual gifts. Another translation says that the purpose of this gift is not to show off. It's not to do all these fancy things. It's to help others. Let that like bookmark that in your brain. These special abilities, these spiritual gifts that God has for you, bookmark in your brain. The main purpose is to help others, to help the church. So let me read this again real quick. God gives many kinds of spiritual abilities, but it is the same Holy Spirit who is the source of them all. There are different kinds of service. That's interesting to me because, again, I'm not trying to be critical, but oftentimes the church likes things to be one way, a one type, a one experience. And if you stray from that, then you hear the comment that that's not church or that's not God. But God is eclectic. He's diverse. Look at creation. I mean, look at the trees and the grass, and then think about the animals, the big and the small, and food, all different types of food. And your country eats this and ours eats that. God is diverse. He's eclectic. He's creative. He doesn't do the cookie cutter thing. You're not a cookie cutter. Your gift is not a cookie cutter. It's not a factory line. You know, I'm not a, you know, I got my shirt on, maybe a factory line. I'm just kind of kidding about the shirt. Oops, I muted for a second. But God's not a cookie cutter thing. He's not a factory line. He's not a cult where we all dress alike, think alike, sound alike, speak alike. He does different gifts and he works in many different ways. And so this is a very important theology that the Apostle Paul is encouraging about, the diversity, the eclectic nature of the divine who creates all different kinds of things. And in the church with us today, man, we are all different types of people. We're all shapes and sizes, and some of us think analytically, and some of us think emotionally, and some of us have this gift. We can code. We're artists. We're organizers. We're leaders. All this eclectic nature that inhabits all of us. This is what God's want. Not okay, everyone think the same, dress the same, act the same. None of that. There's many different gifts, many different ways in which the Lord works. All right, Alice, if you don't mind reading this section in the middle for me.
No worries. And this one is this here to the end of here is actually verse 10 in one. It's just super long, by the way. The Holy Spirit displays God's power through each of us as a means of helping the entire church. To one person, the Spirit gives the ability to give wise advice. Someone else might be especially good at studying and teaching, and this is his gift from the same Spirit. He gives special faith to another, and to someone else the power to heal the sick. He gives power for doing miracles to some, and to others power to prophesy and preach. He gives someone else the power to know whether evil spirits are speaking through those who claim to be giving God's messages, or whether it is really the Spirit of God who is speaking.
Very good. Oh man, let's delve into this again. I wish we could spend a ton of time just going into detail, but we're just kind of, again, doing an overview, doing an intro. And by the way, I think you might have messaged me. Did we not get all the rest of the scripture here? Or is that somewhere else? Or I might have missed that.
No, it doesn't all fit in, but I can read it off my phone if you want me to read anything else.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no. Yeah, maybe I'll have you read that second part. All right. So the Holy Spirit displays God's power through each of us. And there it is, what I was saying, as a means of helping the entire church. That's the purpose of your gift, is to help others. You know, sometimes gift can breed arrogance, and we'll talk about that later. Man, God's going to do when you discover your gift and you go on a journey to fulfill that gift, you're going to see yourself grow in such powerful ways, and maybe people will start to recognize it. And you know what? You know what's going to breed, you know what human nature is going to come into that? Is arrogance and pride. And so what this Apostle Paul is saying is, hey, listen, the point of it is not showing off. Like, we're talking about miracles and healing and we're talking about some superpowers from the Spirit. Man, those superpowers are going to be powerful in your life, but it's not to show off. It's as a means of helping the entire church. It's about helping each other out. It's not about lording over each other. Remember, this is not a cult thing. This is about helping each other out. And boy, we need help in this day and time. We're all going through some rough things every now and then. And it seems like the health and with COVID and the economy, man, we just need help. And one of the ways God helps us is through each other, through the spiritual gifts, through the superpowers, if you will, that God has given us. And then he goes on a big list. And by the way, there's others in Romans. I believe in Timothy, I'll have to go back and look, but definitely Romans. And he lists several just to kind of like, prime the pump. Like, here's some things I want you guys to think about. To one person, the ability to give wise advice. Yo, who in here has that spiritual gift? You've been quiet. You haven't been talking. I don't want to speak up. I don't want to, offend the pastor. Maybe he thinks this or think that. No, we need your wise advice. Hey, just share it. Send a Discord, an email, a personal chat, set up a time to meet, because you've been given that gift and you need to help the church. We need your wise advice. I don't have that gift. I wish I did, but some of you do. So we need to talk. And whoever has that gift of wise advice, we want to fan the flame. You'll hear that word, like fan the flame, like a fire is dying. And, get that flame going, right? And so if some of you are inside your spirit, you're like, wait a minute, that might be me. All right, kind of bookmark that in your brain, because maybe that's your spiritual gift. The ability to give wise advice. Oh man, we need you. Someone else might be especially good at studying and teaching. And this is his gift from the same spirit. Right? It's all coming from God, by the way. It's the same spirit, different works, different, who has that, by the way, in our church? Pastor Zach. He is so good at studying and teaching. When Pastor Zach brings a message, people are like, oh, wow, I learned a ton from there. So some of you are kind of being quiet because you're good at studying and teaching, but you should always bring that up. Hey, Pastor, I think that might be me. Let's have the conversation. Let's talk about how we can cultivate your gift, because you're just a studier, man. You see the insights, and then you can break it down for people. Man, that's such a powerful gift. I know it might not seem like it, but it's such a powerful gift. He gives special faith to another. Man, we need that in the church. I have a friend back at that church in Pennsylvania I was talking about, had great faith. Anytime I would have a little bit of anxiety and worry about what was going on with the church plant, her confidence and the way she spoke expressed this strong faith. And because of her courage and her strength and her faith, I'd be like, yeah, okay, we got this. And some of you have strong faith. It doesn't make you better. By the way, none of these, remember, humans like to categorize and make one thing better than the other. This isn't about being better. This isn't about showing off. This is about helping the church. And if you have great faith, if your faith is strong, man, we need that in the church. All right. I could talk about this forever. He gives special faith to another and to someone else the power to heal the sick. Man, that's such a powerful, the gift of healing. Mentally, emotionally, physically. There's a lot of ailments, and your ability to come in and give people healing, to get them in the right mindset, to encourage them, man, that's such a powerful one. Who has that gift? He gives the power for doing miracles to some, and other powers to prophesy and preach. He gives someone else the power to know whether evil spirits are speaking through those who claim to be giving God's messages. In other words, another translation says the gift of discernment. Who has that like little discerning eye that you have? I accidentally muted myself. Who has discernment? Wow, we need that. I need that. And maybe I'm just too TMI, too much information. I feel like I'm a little bit naive when it comes to things. I could get hoodwinked, and it's those of you who have a gift of discernment, man, you are so important to the church. You're not being arrogant. You're not stepping on toes. You're not, showing off your knowledge. You're just discerning. Hey, Pastor, this kind of feels sus. That's what the kids say nowadays. It feels a little suspect, a little suspicious. That's a little sus there, right? Because I'm just like, oh, okay. You know what I mean? And for you to come in and to help the elders and maybe others, just as a word, hey, listen, just kind of pause, take a thought. Something seems a little off about that. At least pump the brakes a little bit. Something's going on there. Let's go into evaluation mode. So for those of you who have the gift of discernment, man, that's so powerful. Whether something is really the Spirit of God who is speaking. Maybe someone's like, God told me, and well, let's think about it. Let's chew on that. Someone else said, God told me, okay, well, let's think about that. Let's be discerning. Still, another person is able to speak in languages he's never learned. We're talking about speaking in tongues. And others who do not know the language are given the power to understand what he is saying, the interpretation of tongues. Some of you have that gift. And I know sometimes in churches it's uncomfortable to talk about tongues or spiritual tongues, or I don't know, maybe it's not. I don't think it is here. Pastor Bismick is our charismatic influence, if you will. So you'll sometimes hear him speaking in tongues, and we'll hear the interpretation of tongues. But that is a spiritual gift. Here's the next part. It is the same and only Holy Spirit who gives us all these gifts and powers, deciding which let me see here, deciding which each one of us should have. So in other words, let's be clear, by the way, everyone has a gift. I don't care what you think about yourself. If you think you're the worst, you think you're the greatest, in your spiritual journey, in your faith, everybody has a spiritual gift. And that gift has been given to you by God. And so one attitude in this journey is to get excited, to be like, oh, I don't know what my gift is. I'm excited to learn what it is. And I'm excited to go on a journey. For those of you that know it and are well-versed in spiritual gifts, man, it's time to get a little mentee, to mentor someone through their spiritual gifts. Help them to go on that journey, go on that conversation, because people don't know that special power is within them to help each other. And there are some powerful gifts that God has for us. And God is the one who gives it to you. And so don't develop a self-loathing attitude that would reject that gift. Can you imagine if I got a gift and, an Xbox, and I brought it to Cole to say, here you go, friend. And he said, no, I don't deserve it. And I don't want it. No, I'm just, I'm no good. Like, no, it's a gift. You don't have to, he punches me or whatever. It'd be kind of silly, right? We'd be kind of like, all be like, oh my goodness. In the same way, as you go on this journey, man, embrace the gift. God, thank you for this supernatural power that you give me, that's from you, that's for you, and it's to help others. So all glory goes to God in this matter. Now, Alice, is the next part of scripture the eye or the body, the whole body part? I believe it is. And I'm going to love this section, or maybe we can just skip to, the body. All right, I love this. So Alice is going to read this in a second. I think we had limited space to put stuff on. Yeah, yes. Oh, yeah. Get ready for this. I love this because the writer is going to get a little bit specific. He's going to talk about the human body and how the human body has many parts. We have eyeballs, we have hands, I don't.
Uh-oh.
Oh. He's down.
Oh, there we go.
He doesn't have hands now. Oh, no, you do. Now you have hands.
When you tap your Oculus and it goes into pass-through mode, I was in pass-through mode looking at my feet. And then it doesn't tap back for some reason. All right, so the whole body, there's eyes, there's ears, there's legs, and it'd be weird, and I'm not going to get read into it too much, Alice, but it'd be weird if your body was just like ears, right? Like if we said, we don't need hands and feet, it wouldn't be like if we saw a walking ear, we'd be like, what is happening here? And in the same way Alice is going to read it, the hand can't say to the eye, I don't need you. The eye can't say to the foot, I don't need you. And so again, human nature tends to say, oh, this is important. That's medium. That's not very important. And in this passage, we're going to knock that out a little bit and say, no, we're one body. All our body parts are important. Who would want to lose a body part of any type? Now, I did say that, and I kind of missed one little part. There are things that are not more important, but most necessary. And we'll talk about that in a second. And Alice, if you don't mind reading.
All right. Well, just yell at me when you want me to stop. Okay.
Perfect.
Right. The human body has many parts, but the many parts make up one whole body. So it is with the body of Christ. Some of us are Jews, some are Gentiles, some are slaves, and some are free. But we have all been baptized into one body by one Spirit, and we all share the same Spirit. Yes, the body has many different parts, not just one part. If the foot says, I am not a part of the body because I am not a hand, that does not make it any less a part of the body. And if the ear says, I am not a part of the body because I am not an eye, what would that make it any less a part of the body? If the whole body were an eye, how would you hear? Or if the whole body were an ear, how would you smell anything? But our bodies have many parts, and God has put each part just where he wants them. How strange a body would be if it had only one part. Yes, there are many parts, but only one body. The eye can never say to the hand, I don't need you. The head can't say to the feet, I don't need you. In fact, some parts of the body that seem weakest and least
I'm in
important
a thing.
are actually the most
I'm
necessary.
in a meeting, little one.
Yeah, let's stop
Yeah.
there. And so, oh man, again, intro. I got to remind myself intro because we could go in like an hour or two into all of this, right?
I'm in a
And
mood.
so, what Alice was talking about, like the eye can't say to the feet, "I don't need you." Isn't that a crazy thought? If you were to wake up and say, "Hey, like, listen, only the important, visual parts of the body, like the face, you guys are allowed. Feet, we don't need you anymore." Like that's a ridiculous thought. And I think that the Apostle Paul is addressing the human nature to categorize, classify. That's fine. Yeah, it's not bad to categorize in certain situations or kind of classification, if you will. But when it comes to different aspects in our humanity and our culture, there are some things where those labels are not good. And one of those, when we think about the church, when we think about the body, is that human nature thing to say, oh, this is more important, that's less important. This is a more important gift, that's down here. Alice, if you don't mind, ready to read that last part where you talk about the parts that are hidden are most necessary. Can you read that part again?
It says, in fact, some parts of the body that seem the weakest and least important are actually the most necessary.
All
And
right,
the
let's
parts
stop
we
there.
regard... Oh,
Yeah, the not least
Stop that.
important that were regarded as least quote unquote least important are are most necessary. Excuse me, not less, most necessary. So again, Paul's addressing this like this is better, this is worse. Now let's kind of go there for a second. So if we said today, before the church service started, what is the most important person and gift in the church? Well, that must be Pastor Soto because he's the speaker for today. And, he's been on television and news articles. Really, and what this scripture is saying is the hidden parts are actually most necessary. Those that seem the weakest, those that you don't see, maybe behind the scenes, those gifts, again, they're not more important, but they're most necessary. Like we could do without an eye, technically, we wouldn't want to. We could do without the ear, but the heart, oh, we can't do without that. And the eye can't say, well, heart, I don't see you. You're not out here doing anything. I'm have the vision and I'm taking us and we're going in this direction. No, that's a ridiculous thought to say. And in human nature, the church can get that way. But what I'm here to say is whether I'm a bishop on the news speaking or whatever, what's most necessary is not that. It's those of you with spiritual gifts are most necessary. The gifts that you think are least important, not required, are actually very important and very required. So that's a way of saying whatever your gift is, don't regard it as a small thing or an insignificant thing. It's actually really, really important and oftentimes most necessary, more necessary than anything. And you're just kind of knocking yourself and knocking your gift when really your gift is most necessary, most important. Continue.
Okay. And the parts we regard as less honourable are those we clothe with the greatest care. So we carefully protect those parts that should not be seen, while the more honourable parts do not require this special care. For God has put the body together such that extra honour and care are given to those parts that have less dignity. This makes for harmony among the members, so that all members care for each other. If one part suffers, all the parts suffer with it. And if one
Mhm.
part is honored, all the parts are glad. Give me something.
I love that. Let's yeah, let's stop there for a second.
Mm.
I love that. Again, we're all different parts, and we're all one body. And when we all suffer, when one part suffers, we all suffer. When one part is rejoicing, we all rejoice. Do you see what the Apostle Paul is painting here? Do you see the picture about spiritual gifts and our attitude towards them and their importance? And for those of you that are behind the scenes or quiet, or you just wow, this I only put this little tree here. I don't do much. I didn't give the message here. Do you know that this might be most necessary? Those gifts that are hidden, that are quiet, that are clothed with care, that don't get a bunch of recognition. It's very, very important. Continue, Alice.
All right. All of you together are Christ's body, and each of you is a part of it. Here are some of the parts God has appointed for the church. First are apostles. Oh, sorry. Yeah. First are apostles. Second are prophets. Third are teachers. Then those who do miracles. Those who have the gift of healing. Those who can help others. Those who have the gift of leadership. Those who speak in unknown languages. Are we all apostles? Are we all prophets? Are we all teachers? Do we all have the power to do miracles? Do we all have the gift of teaching? Do we all have the ability to speak in unknown languages? Do we all have the ability to interpret unknown languages? Of course not. So you should earnestly desire the most helpful gifts. But now let me show you a way of life that is best for all. And that's the end.
Oh, very good. Very good. All right. Again, I know I'm being repetitive when I say this, but man, intro, I want to do like, deep dives, and we'll get to those. But what you hear the Apostle Paul writing is he starts to get into the nitty gritty. He talks about the apostles, the prophets, the teachers. And really, I know there's culturally sometimes can be a negative reaction to this because I think it's been misused, but the fivefold spiritual gift. And that's one of the things that I think there's different philosophies, theologies when we approach the spiritual gifts. But let me just clear for me and for VRMMO Church that the spiritual gifts exist. We don't say, oh, that was for back in the day, the apostles and healing and tongues, that just happened a long time ago. We don't do that. No, all these gifts that God is talking about exist today. That's what I believe. Some people don't. And if you don't, we'll just have to, just respectfully agree to disagree, that type of thing. These gifts exist. They're for the church to not show off, but to help each other. Now, here's my particular view on it, and you can take or leave it. I think that we have two spiritual gifts. I think the better way to describe it is we all have an office. There's probably a better word for that. And then we all have a spiritual gift. So the offices are an apostle, a prophet, a shepherd, a teacher, apostle, prophet, evangelist, apostle, prophet, evangelist, shepherd, and teacher. By the way, I believe shepherd and teacher can be separate. Sometimes we plast that into one and we say, oh, that's a pastor. But when you spread it out, I think there are shepherds that are not necessarily teachers. I think there are teachers that are not necessarily shepherds. So that's how I would view that. I would view personally that each and every one of you is either going to be an apostle, and a prophet, an evangelist, a shepherd, or a teacher. I talked a little bit about my gifting as an apostle, as a pioneer, as an entrepreneur. We can go deeper into the gift of the prophet, really hearing from God. It's a very important gift, particularly for apostles and prophets, to kind of team up. Not that we're not teamed up with everyone else, but apostles need prophets to help them in their direction, because apostles, man, we want to do it all, man. I got 50 ideas this week. Let's implement left and right. And the prophet comes along and gives discernment, gives wisdom, helps to see clearly. Hey, can we do those three really well? Oh, yeah. Sorry, I was getting ahead of myself. Apostles, we're always trying to pioneer something new, get things going. I've really grown in that gift, and I've really grown in maturity, and I still have ways to go, but I'm able to kind of pull back the 50 great things we want to do. And let's do that one. And oops, sorry, I keep muting myself, putting my hands on over my face. So apostles, the prophets, the evangelists. Maybe you have that office inside you. I think there's many people who are evangelists, and evangelists, man, you're just really able to communicate the gospel and to invite people to church and to relationship with God. And not that all of us can't be pioneers, because listen, I do believe that if a gift is missing, we phase into that gift. Let me give you an example. I'm an apostle. I'm not a shepherd. Man, if you're crying, if you had a bad week, man, Pastor Alina's going to come in. You guys know Alina's going to give you a hug, and are you okay? And you're going to be nurtured. I'm probably going to be like, attaboy. You know what I mean? And so it doesn't mean that I don't care. And it doesn't mean that I'm not, well, there's no shepherds here. So no, I'm going to step into that and do my best. Observing Alina's nurturing example, I'm going to try to emulate and encourage. So I do believe in phasing into gifts when those gifts aren't there. But you're at least one of these, an apostle, a prophet, an evangelist. We talked about the shepherd nurturing, and we talked about the teacher, just really able to help us grow in our knowledge and our faith. So I believe everyone's one of those. You're one of those. And then there's a whole list of spiritual gifts that I think you also have one of those as well. And I think it's kind of like if you play a video game. Have you ever played like an RPG where you pick your main trait? You're like a tank or a healer or a bowsman or a swordsman. You pick your main trait. I feel like that's the apostle, prophet, evangelist, shepherd, teacher. And then you have sub-traits like a cook or a thing, or not less, but just sub-traits. And I think where there's that whole list of spiritual gifts comes in. And so that's my particular view on it. And I think maybe perhaps some of you have different views on that. We can have that conversation. And at the end of the day, however we view it, the encouragement for you is that God's given you a gift. He wants you to know what it is. He wants to fan the flame I think that's what the Apostle Paul told Timothy, fan the flame of your gift. Why did he have to say that to Timothy? Because there are things in life, whether it's culture, whether it's the church, whether it's others, that could just die that down. And maybe you're a pioneer and you're just in an environment that says, hey, just stick to the status quo, please. But man, you're not a status quo type of person. You're spiritually ready to pioneer. And so there are things, for better or for worse, and that just come and really dampen. And what I mean, like for better, just like nobody trying to be malicious about it. But anyways, that fire can die away. And the Apostle Paul told Timothy, no, fan that flame. Start getting that, it died out. You didn't know you had a gift, and there was like barely a little ember going, and started blowing on it. Get that fan, start exercising it. You might, what I love about this is that it gives you the introduction of what the gift is, but doesn't go into very good detail. And I've always wondered that, like teaching about spiritual gifts, like why isn't there more detail about what it is and how to do it? Because again, I think human nature wants to come in and codify it. But listen, you and God alone are going to go on a journey to discover what this gift is in the particular way that you need to express it. So for me as an apostle to come into another apostle and say, oh, that's not apostleship. No. God might be doing it in a different way. Remember when Jesus was with his disciples and they said, hey, that guy's not with us. He's not doing the things he's not in our group, and he's not doing the things in the way that we do them. And Jesus says, if he's not against us, he's for us. And so in that similar way, there's going to be different ways to express these gifts. That's why at the beginning, many different types of gifts, and there is different kinds of service, and God works in all different types of ways. So my apostleship is going to be metaverse, and whatever your apostleship might be metaverse or something different, a different take on the metaverse, or there's all these different elements even within the gift. And for me to codify it or to define it for you, I think that's a misstep. Oops, I got my camera here. That's a misstep, because God and you and God alone are going to go on a journey to discover it. Man, you're going to have some highs, you're going to have some lows. It's going to be confusing. You're going to wonder, wait a minute, maybe I don't have it. It's just all the emotions of these journeys that we go on. We see it in our favorite fantasy novels, sci-fi movies, animes, the individual that discovers They've been called to something. They have a gift, and then the hero goes through it all, the ups and the downs. I'm watching Full Metal Alchemist, and man, it's just like that. The discovery and the discouragement and the victories and defeat and all these different things that go along the way. And so that's not to discourage you at all. That's just to say, man, you have an adventure to go on. And for some of you, you're already in your gift. You're operating it. Woo, man, we need to hear from you. You need to talk about it in the Discord. You need to bring it up in conversation. And for others of you, if you're like me, maybe you didn't know, oh, I'm an evangelist. I took the spiritual gifts test, and I think I'm an evangelist. And so here's the homework for today. Again, intro to volunteer Sundays. We're going to have booze up in the more in the future. We'll just start out with what we have today. We're kind of getting going with 1 Corinthians chapter 12. But here's the homework for you. On Discord, we're going to post a spiritual gifts quiz. I encourage everyone to take it, even if you've already taken it before. One little asterisk is it's a man-made quiz to try to qualify the divine, right? So it's not perfect. It's made by humans to kind of like try to figure out what God is doing in your life. But I think it's pretty good. I think for many people, it really puts a bullseye on what their spiritual gift is. For others, they go, I don't think it's me. And we have conversations. We dive a little bit deeper. Maybe they retake it. I've heard somebody retake it and get like way different. They just took it one way and they took it more genuinely. Not that they did it disingenuinely, but they just kind of like let go and took the quiz, and it was a little better for them. And they're like, yeah, that could be me. Time check. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. And let's wrap it up. Yes.
Excuse me. Yeah, hi. This is Vartika. Actually, I joined this VR church because I'm doing a small research project at Liverpool Hope University. So actually, I have joined this last week as well, this church. But one of my supervisor, they have suggested that in case we can maybe on the VR place or maybe on the Zoom or outside the metaverse, we can connect and we can have some interview how this VR churches are changing the way of worship. And
Yeah,
functions.
absolutely. So, yeah, let's talk more after the service on our Discord. There's a ticket system. You can submit a
Yeah.
ticket. And that's a
Mhm.
good way for me not to forget. If you send me a DM, a direct message, it's going to get buried.
Yeah, I have
you
your
know,
email
unfortunately.
address. Is it fine if I send an email as well?
Yeah, yes, send me an email. Yeah. Yeah, love to chat. I saw the time check. Thank you very much. Last thought, and again, I hate to blow to go so quickly through this because really, hey Alice, read that last verse in 1 Corinthians 12 because this, again, this is probably part 2 another time. But I want to hit it real quickly. If you don't mind doing the last verse for me.
So you should earnestly desire the most helpful gifts, but now let me show you a way of life that is best for all. That's the last verse.
Now, let me show you a way of life that is best for all. So now we kind of pause and we think, well, what are you talking about? Because we're talking about like superpowers and special abilities and spiritual gifts. So that's the best way of life, right? That's the way of life that's best for all, isn't it? No. Spiritual gifts are so good. They're so powerful. But then he goes into 1 Corinthians 13 and he talks about love. Love is the most important way of life. Because again, what's the human nature, man? You're in this superpower, God's doing powerful things. Maybe it gets to your head and I'm the chosen one, whatever thing kind of like, Messiah complex that we can get as humans. And it's just natural. It happens. And, we have to curb that or deal with that or, be in humility. And so in 1 Corinthians 13, he says, what's greater than gifts? I'm talking the ability to heal people, perform miracles, to speak messages that are the greatest sermons in history that anybody's ever heard. You know what's greater than that? Is to love one another. That's what's most important. And to never forget to love one another. He talks about, remember 1 Corinthians 13, if you can have the tongue of men and angels, I mean, you could speak the greatest sermon the world has ever heard. And then he says, if you don't have love, he says it's nothing. He says you can give your body to burning. He just keeps going about how if you do all these great things and you don't have love, you miss the point. And so it talks about love is patient, love is kind, love is long suffering. It doesn't boast. It's not proud. And so we'll post that on Discord. Because it's really the most important. And just because of time, I have to do a hard stop here. Yeah, so we're going to post 1 Corinthians 12 and encourage you to read it again. I really encourage you to read 13 because that's really even more important than 12. And then to combine those is to even go to a greater level. And then we'll also post the spiritual gifts quiz. Encourage you to take it. We'll love to see your results. We'll love to have a conversation about it. You're not going to figure it out overnight, man. I'm only, let's see, 6-7 years into my gift of apostleship, and I'm, still learning, still growing, still trying to figure things out. So it's a journey, and God is encouraging you to go on it. But don't miss the point. The point is to encourage each other, and the point is love. And at the end of 1 Corinthians 13, he says 3 things are going to last forever. He says faith, hope, and love. And he says the greatest of these is love. And so we should never forget that. And that's beautiful because in a moment, we could get all analytical. Okay, we need the office of the apostle. Where's DJ? The shepherd. And what about the gift? Sorry, I muted again. What about the gift of healing? We can get too analytical with it. But what the person just needs from us is love. And love is a gift that all of us have. Alice is reading, all of us are not apostles, all of us are not teachers, but we all have the love of Christ in us. And that's the point, because that's the only thing that's going to last forever. All right, sorry I went long. I know we have your chat coming up, but as I pray, if the hosts of the current volunteer opportunities could go to their booths, and we'll have some more in the future. I'll be at the host booth if you want to chat. And keep an eye on Discord. If you haven't joined our Discord, go to vrchurch.org. That's the website. And at the top right, you'll see the Discord button. I don't get used to Discord. I know it's kind of new and different and confusing at first, but you'll get it. And so let's close in a word of prayer. God, thank you so much for this time. We pray that you'd encourage those that are here that are discouraged. I pray that you'd help us to realize that we all have a gift that you've given us. We're all unique. We're not cookie cutter. We think differently. We act differently. Some of us are loud or quiet, or we just have so much diversity in here. Help us never to become just a cookie cutter church. Help us to discover our gift, to live out that destiny. God, help us in the highs and the lows. And we pray all these things in Christ's name. Amen.